Welcome to this podcast. Is making me thirsty. This is episode 50. Our guest today is an actor, television host, comedian, and travel and foodie expert. He has won 3 local Emmy Awards as a contributor to WLS-TV morning show Windy City Live. He's also well known for providing the voice of Hugh Neutron, the title character's father in The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. He authored a comedic travelogue cookbook, A Fork on the Road, 400 Cities, One Stomach, which was published by Lyons Press. And he hosted the Travel Channel's Taste of America with Mark DeCarlo for 2 seasons in '04 and '05. He's appeared in Family Guy, Ben Stiller's Show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and of course, he played Alec Berg in the classic season 6 episode of Seinfeld, The Face Painter. Please welcome Mark DeCarlo. Mark, thanks for joining.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Now, Mark, we thought you'd have the Alec Berg suit on, but we do like the getup you got.
I think the Alec Berg suit is behind me somewhere. It's been quite a while since I put it on.
Oh man, so Alec Berg is a classic character, and so take us back. So that's 1995. You did a lot in your career up till then. I do want to talk about Studs. I actually just watched an episode of that. It was pretty hilarious. But take us back to 95. Kind of what was going on in your career. Did you ever try out for Seinfeld in the past, and how did the whole audition process come about?
It was, I've done a lot of sitcoms in my career, and that show obviously stands out not only because of how good it was when you saw it, but just the whole machine that made the show was excellent. Larry and Jerry worked their asses off every single week. They were the first guys there. They were the last guys there. When we all left, they stayed and they were rewriting every night. The audition process, I had been doing, I founded the Second City Theater out here in Los Angeles. So I've been doing a lot of improv around town. And I think Dorian Frankel was the casting director. She called me in. And it was Mark Hirschfeld, and I read for him, and then he brought me in, and there's Larry and Jerry sitting on the couch. And Larry was like, all right, well, so you're Alec Berg, and you just talk to me. That's all you have to do. Just talk. And I did the scene with them, and they went, all right. And but before I got home, my agent had called me and told me that I booked the part. The process of making the show, the thing that really stood out to me is normally on sitcoms, like if you're in a scene, you're on set, and if you're not in a scene, you're in your trailer making phone calls or doing whatever. But the 4 leads in the show were on set all day long, whether they were in a scene or not, and they would literally sit like they were Yogi Berra on the bench, and there'd be a break, and they go, you know what, Jason, you shouldn't have the ball. Give that ball to Jerry. Michael, when you come in, do this. It was such a communal effort, and everyone was just plugged in all day long with only one goal, was to make the show great. No egos, no BS. It was such an eye-opening experience for me, because I think the show, I had done recently, a couple of weeks prior to that, I had done a different sitcom, and it wasn't funny, and there were egos on set, and there were this clique and that clique, and it was a shit show. And Seinfeld
Right.
was a delicious stew of talented writers, talented actors all coming together. And Alec Berg, as I'm sure you guys know, was one of the writers of the show, and he hired me later on to do Curb. So
Yeah, we wanted to
it
get to
was
that.
really a great episode, really a great experience for me, rather.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that a lot. That the set, they really, there's no egos, and they really let the guest stars shine, which is great. Which is, your characters that come and go, but you remember them because of that. I think they let
Right, and
them
that's
shine
really
so
important.
much.
I mean,
Yeah,
from an actor's point of view, letting the guest stars shine. Typically, I mean, I've had friends who have started a rehearsal week on a sitcom with 20 lines, and every time they got a laugh, one of the stars got jealous, and they'd come in the next morning, and that line would be with somebody else. So by the end of the week, they have 2 lines to say. And I remember, I think before the reading even started, all 4 of them came up and introduced themselves to me. Julia was really super sweet. We talked about Chicago and Second City. So by the time the table reading starts, which is how every episode starts, you sit along a big table and you read through the script. I already felt comfy. I felt like, oh, okay, this is Seinfeld. It wasn't as big as it eventually got, but it was still a hit show at that point, and you
Right.
feel, you feel intimidated walking onto that set. You don't know anybody really, and they really, all four of them, and the director and Alec and a bunch of other people, they went out of their way to, hey man, we're really glad you're here. You did a great job in the reading. It's going to be really funny, and it gives you, it's like sports. If you're worried that you're going to make a mistake, you don't play your best. But if
Right.
you're loose and you realize, hey, if you make a mistake, you just do it over. You can, it opens up your bandwidth a little bit better, and you can be closer to 100% of whatever you're capable of. And they totally did that, at least for me and for the other people I saw there. And look
Sure.
at all the people that have come through that show.
So it's funny. You now I get a sense you are a sports guy. Where the Cubby
Yeah, so we
had
want to ask you.
a bunch of sports references already. The first couple of minutes here, and what's super interesting is the episode you're in on Seinfeld and then later Curb. We'll start with Seinfeld. Is obviously sports related. Like, did they know that coincidence? And obviously, you kind of ate that up, and you could just tell like you were a guy that like had tickets and like just had such a confidence about him, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and then
I think we
Curb.
all kind of know a guy like that.
Yeah, no, it was a total coincidence, but I am a huge, I played hockey earlier today. I don't know if you can see that here. I got all my, I got my Blackhawks jerseys. I got my USA jersey.
Oh, wow.
I've got a bunch of different jerseys in here. I think it's the greatest sport on the planet. And yeah, it turned out to be quite funny. The whole.
Oh, and it was a hockey episode, of course.
Yeah,
which
it's
you love.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is crazy.
That's back when the Devils were good.
Yeah,
Mate
that was an
Brodeur was in the
insane
net.
series. That 94 and 95. I went to a few of those 95 playoff games and the Devils won it.
Yeah, they were good.
But the 94 series was incredible. We're both from New York, so we were obviously in the meat of that thing at that time. But yeah, so the other thing I wanted to ask you was, it's funny because when you're introduced in the Seinfeld episode, Elaine says she doesn't like you and calls you pretentious, but you don't really see you being that pretentious. And there's like a part of me that wonders, was there any other scenes you shot that where you were more pretentious, or you played it so low key pretentious, I guess is more of how it was. You weren't overtly, but I'm just curious like how you went into the role knowing that, Elaine didn't like you and eventually Jerry's going to kind of snub you, but you played it so cool. I was like, like O'Hara said, I'm the cool guy. I got the tickets. Like I'm rocking and rolling here. I don't know. Just interesting how you kind of looked at it.
I think we rehearsed it a couple different ways. In my head, I wanted to date Elaine, so I was going to try and impress her with my tickets. And I thought Jerry and George were a couple of idiots, and I couldn't believe that she hung out with them.
Nice.
And I think I had turned up the pretentiousness more previously, and I think Jerry said, you know what, don't be so obvious, crank it back. And they did the same thing on Curb. When I did Curb, literally Garland hands me a piece of paper. He ripped a piece of paper out of the script and he goes, here's they didn't really direct me too much as far as how they wanted me to play it. I remember there's the second or third scene that I'm in is in a funeral home, and Jerry and Elaine come in, and I don't say hi to them. I just give them and I remember asking Larry, am I pissed that they didn't say thank you? Am I not? And he goes, so that's my direction.
You seemed really
hello.
pissed.
Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah,
you do the funeral hello, but it's tough to tell at a funeral hello.
And I think that's what they were after. I think
right. Maybe they didn't want
people,
you to know.
Right. If you're right in the middle, the people that want to think that you're pissed can think that. The people that think you're not, it was a nice little acting.
Yeah, I mean, I always sided with Alec Berg in this episode. Jerry seemed a little snarky at the funeral. Like I know they had that small talk, and then he's like, "Hey, Alec," like, I mean, I didn't like the way he went about that. So I think he deserved that. I just love
thank you. I mean, you should do a next day thank you for tickets like that.
Of course. Wait, yeah, on the glass.
Yeah.
But just typical Steinfeld, where they take something that blows past you in real life, and they can blow 22 minutes of hardcore comedy out of it, just with that really deft touch. I mean, why? And later on in the episode, what's the big deal, Jerry? Pick up the friggin' phone.
Yeah, Kramer's yelling at it.
So I think maybe Jerry was picking up on my on my character's desire to see Julia naked, and was
That's
fighting back a little bit.
So the curb, it sounds like then Alec Berg, the real quote unquote Alec Berg, when there comes time to shoot that curb, they just reached out to you, said, hey, and I don't know, maybe did you know Garland and those guys from Chicago, or was it just from and that connection too helped? And so I'm assuming no audition for curb. It was just like, hey, we got a role, come on in, and just curious. That was like I think it was 2001, so that was like 6 years later, I think.
Yeah, I think I auditioned for it, but there's a big Chicago Second City mafia out here of all of people that either went through Second City there or did it here, and we're all friends. And Jeff's in that group, and Joel Murray and Pat Finn, who's hilarious.
Yeah, we had him on.
Nia Vardalos, Ian Gomez, there's tons of us, and I knew Jeff from that, and I think I knew Alec. I had met Alec through Seinfeld and had seen him a couple other times. So they were, that was a much lower key audition. I think I came in and just read for Larry, and he gave me the part right there in the room.
And that's purely unscripted as far as your lines go in Curb?
Literally, the script, as I recall, was a page, and it was just paragraphs of story. And so, I was playing Shaquille O'Neal's manager, and Larry trips him and hurts him, and he's in the hospital. He's out of the playoffs. So I'm thinking I would be really, really pissed. So I walk up to Larry. I'm like, well, how angry am I? How am I pissed off? He goes, we'll just, we'll just do it. So we did it 3 or 4 different ways. Really irritated, not irritated at all. And then like in the middle, and then they cobble it together. Steve Rash has been their editor since season 1, I think, and he does a brilliant job. He's won the Emmy at least once that I know of, for piecing together all that material and making it seem continuous and have it all make sense. But literally, I just thought it was hilarious. Little sliver, it had my name, who I was to Shaq, and then he said, yeah, and Jerry messes up Shaq's leg, and he's in the hospispital. So go do it.
That's it. Go for it. You got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We just rewatched that episode, obviously, along with the one on Seinfeld. It's just incredible how VHS tapes, that was part of that show. Like Larry brought all the VHS tapes to Shaq.
In a big giant box.
Box
I think
I had never met Shaq before, right? And we shot that at the Staples Center, which is where the Lakers were playing. In between every shot, Shaq would sneak away, and he walked up to 10 or 15 different ushers, and all he said was, hey man, we couldn't do this without you. Thanks so much for everything you do for us throughout the season, signing autographs. He was so cool and so nice to all the the little people that were working in Staples, because the same crew that was there then were the people that do the games. And I just thought it was so cool that he would take his time and go around and talk to people, because he knew that all those ushers would die to talk to him for 5 minutes,
Yeah, and
it seems like a good guy.
He seems like a class act, and it's funny, you brought up Pat Finn, and we spoke to him a couple weeks ago, another like Chicago class act, and he had a similar story about Jerry, similar to Shaq, like, and how gracious he was, and how he actually let ad-lib like his little Joe Mayo lines, which was great. Did you get to ad-lib anything on the set of Seinfeld? I'm trying to think. Scenes you were in.
Wasn't really,
maybe when you were at your desk.
Yeah, there wasn't really a space for it. I typically do when I get hired for something, but I was, more or less the MacGuffin throughout the episode. The first scene in the diner was pretty tight, and then the other ones, we goof around a little bit in rehearsal, and then once especially on Seinfeld, once they get the music and the flow of the scene, they lock it down and then they shoot it. So there wasn't really much of an opportunity for me to do it, but they were, and I'm sure Pat would agree. It's letting you do that kind of stuff. First of all, if you're going to hire an improviser, that's what you're buying, right? You want someone that can throw stuff in, and then either they like it or they don't. speaking of improv, there's a scene at the end of the show, that episode, where Kramer is apologizing to the monkey.
Yeah.
They shot the whole scene, or they shot the whole episode, didn't shoot that scene, cleared the audience out. Then they brought in the chimp. They put the chimp in the cage. They turned on 4 cameras and they just said, go. And Michael Richards walked in there and did 25 minutes of goofing around with the monkey. That was some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen in my life. And in the episode, it's 15 seconds.
Right.
But it just kept going and going and going. And it was hilarious. That was some brilliant improvising. With a monkey.
Yeah, exactly. That footage has got to be somewhere. I mean, obviously, that's incredible.
I'm surprised I've never seen it in any of the
on like a behind the scenes or something.
Yeah, because it was really and they had a lot of cameras turning, so I know they got all of it. It was really funny.
So you're there, like you mentioned. You're there, and everyone's there the whole shoot, every scene, whether you're in the scene or not. Which it sounds like atypical of most sitcoms, the way they work. I think you kind of touched on it, but I'm just going to ask a little bit, just kind of delve a little bit more just to see if there's anything we're missing here with Larry David. It sounds like he doesn't give much direction. He wrote that episode too that you were in. So I thought maybe he might have more of a presence on set, but it sounds like he doesn't give much direction from what you've said so far. But I'm just curious, was there anything?
No, he was on set. He was definitely on set, definitely on set, and definitely always noodling and writing things down. I think my impression was they were going to let you, at least with me, follow your instincts, and if it sucked, they would tell you. But I just kind of did the scene how I thought the scene was supposed to play, and I don't recall any major any major roadblocks or scene shifts that they wanted me to do. It's just kind of, I think the whole series, there's this realism and kind of deft touch. Even the smallest part on Seinfeld, you never get the sense that the people are acting. They have fully developed characters and lives, and they're just intersecting with Jerry for 90 seconds and then they go away. But the quality of the people that they brought in was such that they didn't have to boss them around too much, and they gave you free reign to do what you wanted to do.
It's very true. I mean, that's what our podcast is all about. We've had a few of those actors on. They just had a few scenes here and there, and they stood out. They were developed. It was like you said, every one of them is memorable, just no matter how many lines or what they had to do in the scene. It's crazy.
And that's a testament to Jerry and Larry and the 4 stars of the show, because I'm telling you, on most shows, it's not that way. The stars want all the laughs and all the jokes and all the attention, and the guest cast typically is there to set up jokes and propel the plot points forward. And it's much more of a utilitarian task if you're looking at the scope of the writing of the script in general. But on Seinfeld, the guest stars have some of the funniest stuff to do, and you know what? It's like Gretzky or Connor McDavid or Ovechkin. They dish, they pass the puck, and they don't mind if you score. You know what I mean? It's all about the points. It's all about the score.
Yeah, and I think the way you get graded is if the audience wants more of you, right? And I think that's what they wanted from Alec Berg. I'm curious if you were ever approached to come back to the show. Like, I don't even know what Alec Berg did, right? I know he was just a businessman, right? Yet he went to coffee shops on the Upper West Side, but and he did get snubbed. I was curious if you were invited back for the finale, or if that ever came up. But you would have been a great character. Like, they never thanked me,
Yeah, that would have been funny. No, I never got a chance to go back. I've done a couple of TV Guide interviews, because I guess the Face Painter episode is like one of the top 10 popular Seinfeld episodes ever. But no, I did not get to go back for the finale. Certainly would have had they asked, because it was a great experience with quality people. And I mean, look at everybody that touched that show has gone on to do great work because they were good. Really is what it boils down to. Sometimes on a show, there's hundreds of people that work on a show, and typically If you're lucky, 40% of them are really good. I think, on Seinfeld, it was 90% of them. And it works. It's difficult to do. And
Right.
it really, really, it was the writing. Larry and Jerry never stopped working the whole week, period.
Yeah, it's no accident. And you your character's name, obviously we talked about Alec Berg, the quote unquote real Alec Berg. Was there any? They just used the name because they liked it, and they liked that whole, John Holston.
Jerry thought
thing?
it was that's
it.
what they used to say
Okay.
to him. Yeah.
Okay.
Jerry goes, "Yeah, I think it's funny, so we put it in a script."
Okay. So there was no Alec Berg. They didn't want you to use his There was nothing like that. It was just a great name. That's it. He's not like
Yeah, no, it
there
was
no
just the
funny story
name.
behind that as far as
Yeah, and Alec's very quiet, lanky. Yeah, I'm nothing like Alec. So no, I don't think they cast an Alec Berg lookalike. No.
And they haven't done that much. They did it with Joe Mayo, which
coincidentally
Pat Finn played.
And your last name in Curb is Mayo, which is I don't know, a weird little...
Albert Mayo. You're right.
Yeah. So I was growing up. I remember the show Studs, and I just went back and watched an episode. I don't see why, but it was you doing the Lou Gehrig impersonation of "Today I consider myself the luckiest host alive." I remember that. So it's like I can't escape these sports themes from you, right? So I just want to ask you. Well, we can talk about Studs, but I always like asking Chicago folks their favorite team. I see you got the Cubbies hat. I now know you're a Blackhawk guy.
Yeah,
but
tell me that this isn't. I think this is the greatest jersey in sport.
Who's that? Eddie Belfour? Who do you got?
No, just the crest,
Ronick?
just the red jersey, the whole design. It's just classic. I mean, obviously, I'm partial because I grew up there.
Right.
This is my own jersey, but watch Patrick Kane for 5 minutes, and if you're not entertained, there's something wrong with you.
All right, so Blackhawk, Cubs championship, 85 Bears, or the 2015 Blackhawks?
It's the World Series. I do a television show in Chicago, and I was at the game that Kyle Hendricks pitched to beat the Dodgers to get us into the World Series. We were shooting inside the park, and then afterwards, I met our crew, a crew outside the park, and we shot from 11 o'clock until 4 in the morning. I think I don't really remember because there was drinking involved, but it was just a great time for the city. It was emotional. It was fantastic, and that team just played so well. After the game, we came out of that game. I was also in town for the World Series. I didn't get tickets, but I was there the night they won the one home game before they went back to Cleveland and got it. And people spill out of the park, and there were just a line of cops down the middle of Clark Street for like about half a mile either way, high-fiving people. Nothing burned. No cars were turned over. No mischief. People were just so happy. So, everybody's thinking about their grandpa and their great grandpa.
Right,
it was awesome. It was, I think, because we were so starved for a quality team for so long, it was just it was an exciting thing. And the Stanley Cups are cool too, but we won them in 1960.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned the grandfather father, you me think of when the Red Sox won, the HBO did a documentary on it, and the guy said that I get the chills talking about it every time. The guy said he wandered out to the cemetery, and he got there, and there was hundreds of people there. Like he wasn't the only one. It was crazy. I get choked up talking about it again. That's crazy when you think about it. Like generations of people,
Well, I think that's the cool thing about Fenway and Wrigley. Is that's the same place that I've been going to since I was 3 years old with my grandfathers and my dad and my brothers. And it's the same place, same thing. I get a lump in my throat every time I go, and I'm right before I come out from the dungeon and come out and see the green of the field. It's just it's an amazing place. Anyone that has not had a chance to go and see a baseball game at Wrigley Field, go do it. I don't care if you're a baseball fan or not. It's just get there at 10 in the morning, leave after the game, stay in the neighborhood. It's just it's a fantastic experience.
Yes. Speaking of great places too. You mentioned. I know you're a sports. I mean, a food and travel guy as well.
Yeah.
Give us kind of an unknown city for both travel and food. You know, not a typical one maybe that we wouldn't think of, or something that you might have that's, you know, not New York or you know,
Right.
Seattle, something that's
Yeah, I think, you know, Chicago's a good food city. New York's a good food city. I think if you're looking for a great place to visit and party and have fun, I think the
yes.
best city in America is New Orleans. You've got
Okay.
world-class musicians. Literally, you walk into a shitty little bar on Frenchman Street, no cover, and you'll see one of the greatest bands you've ever heard, and they're playing for bucket money.
Right.
And you can't there are there are gas stations that are Zagat rated in New Orleans because the food is so good. It's harder to get a bad meal in New Orleans than it is to get a good one. So you got music, you got food, you've got culture, you've got, you know, black, red, yellow, white, just a huge melting pot of people and cultures. It's an amazing place, and we go every year for the Jazz Fest, which will be in October this year. Typically, it's in the spring. It's the best party in America,
Nice.
hands down. So that's a great city. Austin's a great city. Memphis is a great city. Real good music and food there. You know what? Any place. That's what I've been itching to do with this COVID thing. I haven't been
Yeah.
able to do any road trips. I just want to get in a car and go somewhere and sit in a diner and talk to some waitress. You know, that's
Exactly.
it's fun.
Just like
entertainment.
Alec Berg going to Monk's Cafe, right?
Exactly.
Well, Mark, this has been an absolute honor. We thank you.
We're gonna thank you. We're gonna call you
I
tomorrow
mean,
to thank you
Just
again.
say
What?
thank you, Jerry.
We're
Just
gonna
say
email you
thank
twice tomorrow.
And tell you what, now that we know you're a you're a ticket guy, we're gonna ask you for Cubs tickets front
We're gonna
row,
hit you
like Alec Berg style.
up.
I
We're gonna
can.
hit you up.
Once it opens up, I can help you. Right now, they're a little scarce. A little scarce.
Thank you so much. This has been
Hey guys, it was a pleasure.
been
Thanks.
great,
And
man.
this show is really fun and continued success with it. Have you had any of the main cast on the show yet?
Nah,
We've
Peterman was
had,
John O'Hurley. We had was a big one. Peterman.
Peter Melman, we had. He's one of the
Yeah,
like
Peter Melman.
original writers. But yeah, the
Rushmore.
big four, they're hard to get, but we're working on them. Believe me.
Yeah, they're very cool. They you know, obviously they're a little busy, but certainly
We're all busy.
Yeah,
keeping the
exactly.
flame burning for them.
Exactly.
You know, it's one of those things, man. You can there's
You can put in a word for us with Larry.
Sure. Next time I see him.
Oh man, Mark,
Mark,
awesome
thank
job,
you so
man.
much, man. This
Really
was great.
appreciate it.
We really appreciate it.
Tony, Chris, thanks so much, man. It was
Thank
really
you.
a blast. Good luck and go Cubs.
Why
Thank
not?
you, Mark. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. That was really fun.
All right,
Appreciate you asking.
Thanks again,
cool.
Mark.
Cheers.
Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.